Now, bringing you the very best in New Hampshire-based local music on IPMNation.com and 100.1 The Planet, this is Local Outbreak. Joining us live in studio at the news desk, Brooks Young is here. Hello, sir.
Hello. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, it's great to see you, man. When did I interview you the first time? It seems like another lifetime ago.
I think it was another lifetime ago. I want to say it was, it had to have been at least 10 years or more.
Yeah. I'm trying to remember. Now, have I interviewed you, I think more than once before, right?
Oh, yeah.
It had to be. Yeah. And was I at a show that you did live too? Did we do something with you live? Trying to remember.
Maybe. Something at the Flying Monkey, maybe? Did you do something with that?
Oh, or? It's possible. Yeah. So it's great to have you here. It's been a long time. Obviously, you've been very busy.
I've been very busy. Yeah, I've been very busy since I've seen you last. And, and just keep on, trucking through. Yeah.
And now currently because for a while you had Brooks Young Band.
Yeah, and I still do.
You still do?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. We just had a rehearsal the other day. We're playing in Concord next Friday. I'm doing a few shows with the band and some local solo stuff before I head out on tour. So.
Oh, I gotcha. Okay. Because I noticed like you've got brooksyoung.com and you've got brooksyoungband.com. Yeah, a nice website, by the way. I'm a website nerd. I look at websites and
thank you.
And I assess them, and it's a good website.
I'll let the guy know who handles it.
No, for real, because a lot of musicians have horrible websites.
Yeah, you have to be up in the game,
Yeah, so that looks really good. Now, tell us about the tour. So you're going to be going out with George Thorogood.
Yeah, so I head out in October through November. I'm on tour with George Thorogood and the Destroyers, and we're going all over the place from Pennsylvania, New York, Florida, Georgia, Kentucky, North Carolina, South Carolina. There's a list of shows, a huge list, and I was on tour, did a couple dates last summer with him and Sammy Hagar in the Circle, with Mike Anthony from Van Halen on bass, and Jason Bonham on drums, George Thorogood and his band, and myself. And
oh, wow.
We had a blast, and George and I just got along really well, and he was interested in having me come out and join him this fall on tour. So I've been prepping for that, getting ready, because there's a lot of logistics, involved with something like, of that scale.
Oh, of course, yeah. How many dates is it?
I want to say it's a little under 20.
Okay.
And we'll be adding some more. There might be a date on there, I believe, that we might do with Sammy Hagar as well.
Yeah.
In October.
Yeah.
Because we'll be in the neck of the woods.
Yeah.
The night before. So that's rumor there. But yeah, I'm looking forward to it. George is a great guy, and he really did a lot for getting the blues and things like that kind of going in a more rock style of things. And he's a funny guy, really nice, and I looking forward to. I'll be seeing George next week. So
excellent.
Yeah, he'll be up in New Hampshire, so I'm gonna go see him and chat a little bit. But yeah, I'm looking forward to it, and just kind of prepping myself for that tour.
Yeah, he's such a staple on classic rock radio with that. I'm trying to think of who else would even be in that category where it's very blues oriented, but more so than most classic rock is.
Yeah, he had that whole that kind of a Bo Diddley kind of, that whole shuffle kind of thing going on with the guitar and the slide. Yeah. And George, he really picked that up and, took it to a different level. Yeah. And kind of made it a little bit more in the forefront of music.
I still remember, it's funny, I still remember being a kid and seeing the video for Bad to the Bone the first time and seeing him, he's walking into the pool hall and I think that might have been, I don't know if it was his very first radio hit at the time, but it was an early one, and then he had a huge run. And I can't think of anybody quite like him who really, again, has become such a staple on classic rock radio, which I'm sure from a business standpoint probably helps him sell a lot of tickets.
Yeah, we're playing large venues.
Excellent.
One of the venues I'm really excited for is November 1st. We're going to be at the Hard Rock live venue in Orlando.
Oh, wow.
And that's the big one.
Yeah.
And, so I'm really looking forward to that. And I know a lot of my friends and family, want to come down to see that show. So,
yeah,
it'll be a lot of familiar faces at that. And it'll be nice and warm.
Yeah. When is that?
November 1st.
November. Yeah. Yeah. So it's a good time to go. Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, how long of a set do you get to play?
I usually play for about 45.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
And so I do that usually. My daily routine there is, I'll be at the hotel, kind of do my thing there, and then I head over for sound checks at 4. So I'll check in with the venue, go to my dressing room. I have a tour manager that goes with me.
Yeah.
And, takes care of my stuff, and then usually we'll have dinner around 6. I'll do a sound check before dinner.
Yeah.
And then, myself, the band, crew, everyone, we all eat, and do our thing, and then I'll go out there and I'll play and do my thing, and then George will go out, and you never know. George and I might, trade a few licks on this tour. So
have you done that before with him?
No. And I think, hopefully that's what this tour is all about. So
yeah, that must be kind of a dream, right? To be able to actually share the stage simultaneously and play with him. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm sure that will be happening on this tour, and he's just a great guy, and he has a great fan base as well.
Mm-hmm.
And to get to see how the fans react with George. And I remember we were in Chicago last summer, and we played the Hollywood Casino, and it was 25,000 people.
Wow.
And one of the fans gave George a cane. So if you're familiar with George, he has like the cobra as kind of like his logo.
Oh yeah.
And someone gave him a cane, and it had like an ivory type cobra on the top of it.
Yeah.
And George and I were backstage and, trying to get the, the plastic off the cobra, because he wanted to use it to go and, walk out and go see the rest of Sammy's set.
Yeah.
And it was really cool. And he just great fans, and, he's just a great guy to be around.
Sammy must be fun to be around, I would think.
Sammy's funny. So last summer, I never met Sammy before until last summer. And I was standing outside of my dressing room. So it was my dressing room, and right across the hall was Jason Bonham, and he was warming up on drums. So he has like a Roland V drum set there, and he's jamming out to Fleetwood Mac. And in walks Sammy.
Yeah.
He's got his red T-shirt on.
Yep.
Never met him before, and he looks right at me, and he goes, "Brooks!" And he comes over, and we chat for a while. And just so much energy, very positive guy.
Yep.
Just good people to be around. And, that's what it's all about, and that's how, you make it to that level of things and performing like that. You have to surround yourself with the right people.
Oh yeah. Yeah. And Michael Anthony seems like, I met Sammy once, I met him actually at Meadowbrook when he was on that. This was many years ago when he was on the tour that he did with David Lee Roth.
Oh, okay.
I was at that show and I got to meet him. I've never met Michael Anthony, but he seems like he must
Michael's
be a
cool.
really nice guy. Yeah.
Very much like Sammy, very quiet.
Yeah.
They're just regular guys. At the end of the day, they hang out just like us, and and we all hang out and chat, have a drink after the show, and just talk about whatever's going on in our life.
Now, when you go on tour, does your band, is it all the same people who go with you on tour that you have here who play shows with you in the area?
On certain shows, yeah. For this particular tour, it'll be just myself. But yeah, like when I was on tour with Three Dog Night for, a couple of years, we did that. It was my same band.
Yeah.
And so, we had rehearsal on Sunday for some stuff we have coming up. And it's, over the years, I've had a couple different lineups, but the people that are in the group now are, people that have been with me for at least 10 years.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah.
Oh, that's good. I mean, that's got to be hard to keep, I've been in bands and I know how hard it is to keep the same group together for any period of time, really.
A lot of people don't realize how hard it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
You're dealing with everybody's schedules and everyone, and often varying levels of commitment. So that's impressive.
Yeah. So, and it just works out. We have that certain cohesiveness, and it just works. We read each other really well on stage.
Yeah.
We can, we know when something's up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That must be particularly important with the music that you do because, so I've never been in a blues band, but obviously with what you do, there's a lot of room for improv, right?
Yeah.
Or sometimes a song that might normally be 4 minutes might be 6 minutes, and
When we're live, we're more of a blues rock. We're not your straight old standard blues.
Yeah.
Like BB. I did that for a while back when I first started out when I was playing with BB King. Then usually, I did some stuff with Robert Cray fairly recently.
Oh, wow.
So that was more straight blues.
Yeah.
And, this winter was great. I did a show with Los Lobos.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah, Los Lobos, man. Those guys are great. And, David and, it's just a fun, I always, listen to, The Wolf, all of those songs that they did in La Bamba and all that. And, to be there and do a show with them and hang out with them, during all that is just, it's really interesting to be able to hang out with the people that you grew up listening to.
Oh, no doubt.
You get you kind of walk in like, okay, what's it going to be like?
Yeah.
Is it going to be everything you thought, or is it, and most of the time it's very good. So.
That's good to hear too, because, there's, not everyone has the same experience, and that some people, will say, don't meet your heroes. You know what I mean? But it sounds like for you, it's been pretty good.
Yeah. I only have one story, and I will not share it. That it wasn't that way.
Really?
And I was surprised. Yeah. But most like 99% of them were good.
Yeah. That's good.
Yeah.
That's good. So you did with Robert Cray, did recently you said you worked with him?
Yeah, that was, I would say fairly recently. It was a year or two ago.
Okay.
And, I did some tour dates with Robert, for a while, and, hopefully might be doing some more stuff with him this year. So yeah, Robert's a great guy, very talented, and he's part of that circle of guitarists. So you have your BB King, and you have Robert and Eric Clapton, and speaking of Eric, during COVID, Eric's daughter Ruth Clapton and I recorded together.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah, we did.
I honestly didn't even know he had a daughter who was a musician. I had no idea.
She's a very talented singer, and Ruth and I actually did one of her dad's songs. We did Promises.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah, and we recorded that during the pandemic, and we had a great time. And I was just talking to her last week, and she lives over in Yorkshire, England.
Oh, wow.
And so I've become really friendly with Eric and his management, and he invited me down to see him last September at the Garden.
Yeah.
And he hooked me up down there to see him and Jimmy Vaughn.
Oh, wow.
And I got to hang out with Jimmy Vaughn about a month ago, and such a talented guitarist.
Yeah.
And we had a good conversation about just the other cast that play with with him and Eric and everyone. It's a very tight-knit circle. Brooks
Young is with us in studio. By the way, Miriam Banish really liked that song, Ventilator.
Oh, that's great. Yeah. I had a blast recording that.
Yeah, I noticed too. There's a video. So is that actual footage from the recording, or?
It sure is.
Yeah.
Yep.
Where did you record that?
I recorded that at a phenomenal studio up in the White Mountains called Mojo Studio.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Legendary.
Yep. Anthony and his dad up there, and I have a blast. I've recorded quite a bit up there, and I actually did a show with them this summer. We did a big thing up there, up in the Notch. And I just love going there. You walk in, it's just the vibe is perfect. We did a little piece on New Hampshire Chronicle, I think back in February.
Yeah.
And which was great. We did that. And then I also, while we were recording the album, I was working on another project where Governor Sununu and I did a song together, that song about New Hampshire, and the music
really?
video. Yeah, it went viral. And
I didn't even know about it. No kidding.
Oh yeah.
Oh, wow.
Look, it's
does he play guitar?
He dabbles with guitar a little bit.
Got understood.
Yeah. But yeah, I coached him through, and he came up with the lyrics. And
no kidding.
Yeah. He called me up one night and he's like, Brooks, I have this idea. And I was like, sure. Yeah. What do you want to do? He's like, I want to do a song everywhere, man, all about New Hampshire and the different locations. And I said, all right, let's do it. And the governor and I, we've been friends for quite a while now. And
Yeah.
so I was like, sure, come on over. We'll do some recording. And he emailed me the lyrics and we worked it out. And he did a great job.
Huh.
And so you'll have to look it up.
Yeah.
It went viral. So speaking of the Los Lobos show, I was in my hotel when I was up doing that show with them. And my bass player, Al, he was across the hall in his room. And he texted me a picture of his TV. And it's CNN, and it's me and the governor, and
no
CNN's playing, this music video and doing a segment on it.
Oh, wow.
And it was hilarious, and I didn't get to see it at the time, but
yeah.
So it's been a real busy year.
Yeah, it sounds it.
Yeah.
Yeah, when I first met you, at that point, I think even then, like back when I'd first interviewed you had played with who were some of the early people that you played with? Because I think
obviously BB King,
right,
Huey Lewis in the News.
BB King is who I was thinking of because I remember we talked about that before. Yeah.
Huey Lewis in the News, Pat Benatar, a bunch of people.
Yeah,
there's a list somewhere, I think.
Is BB King though? Is he kind of the first like?
BB was the big thing. So do you remember in Manchester here there was Singer Park? And there was the stage, the music.
Yeah.
So the BB King was playing there, and the date got rained out and rescheduled to September 11th. And so I was at that show, and a friend of mine brought me to it, and I got to meet BB King.
Okay.
And so I was with BB on 9/11 there, and kind of became friends with him, and told him what I did, and I think gave him a CD or something of the sort. He had my music, and just recently, probably right after that, I got an email from his agent at William Morris saying, BB would like you to open up and play some shows.
Wow.
And I wasn't prepared for anything like that.
Yeah.
And, I remember where I was standing the moment I got that news. And and I was like, in my head, like, okay, I have this. So what am I going to do with this? And I get on the phone and, so other shows, Collective Soul, The Wallflowers.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of what some of the early ones. Southside Johnny and the Asbury Jukes. I played a lot with them when I was first starting out.
Yeah.
And Rick Derringer and Edgar Winter.
Wow.
And those were fun.
Yeah. Yeah.
And just good times. And just learn a lot from them.
But it sounds like that opportunity with BB King really kind of launched you, right?
It sure was. Yeah. And that's the thing. You start there, and it's like, well, where do you go from there?
Right.
And I was like, but BB was definitely, the most humble man, and I learned a lot from him, and had a lot of conversations with him, over those years, and it was really sad when he passed away.
Yeah.
And I remember him telling me, because I knew this was the moment in my life where it was one of the shows I was playing with BB King, and I walked back to the dressing room. I'm going into the venue. I got my guitar in my hand. I got my suit, everything, and I take my suit jacket off, and I put it up next to BB King's in the dressing room while he's sitting there eating dinner, and his son is with him, Willie. And I set my guitar down next to Lucille, his guitar. And that was like one of those moments where it was like, this surreal moment, because I was, younger then, but, I was watching him, on DVDs, and I had every single album and, just soaking it in and learning that. And then all of a sudden there I am in this small little backstage room, and my Fender Strat next to Gibson, Lucille, and my coat. I always knew that, dress sharp. So anyone who knows BB, he always had these very stylish, suit coats and everything like that.
Oh, yeah.
And I remember he said, always dress when you're going out there to perform like you're going to the bank for a loan.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's good. Yeah. Yeah. It must have been a shock when you got the call, because I would imagine, like, when you hand him your CD or you handed it to or his manager or whomever, like in the back of your mind, you're doing that because it's smart to do that, but you probably don't really expect anything's going to happen, right? Because so many of us, we have that we get an opportunity to hand something to somebody, but we know, they've probably got people handing them stuff all the
day.
time. They're never gonna listen. What are the odds that they're gonna listen to it? And then when it happens, when you get that call, I mean, that must have been mind blowing.
Yeah, it sure was. And then to do more shows afterwards. After that first initial show, and the whole point was to just do a really good job, and hope it all goes well. Cross your fingers, and you're up there, in front of a few thousand people, and that was my first big show. I was there with opening for BB King, and there was probably like 3,000-4,000 people, I think, at that first show.
Yeah.
And I never experienced anything like that prior.
Yeah.
And I just wanted to go up there and do the best that I could. And
where was it?
That first show was at Hampton Beach Casino Ballroom.
Oh, okay.
That was my first. My first gig.
Yeah. Wow.
And it was fun. I played there many times over the years since, with Huey Lewis and the News and Pat Benatar and a bunch of folks. And that's always a fun room to play.
Yeah, no doubt. Who have you played with who would really, is there someone you've played with who would really be kind of surprising? Because when, for example, when you say Huey Lewis and the News, it's kind of like,
yeah.
Okay.
He's a great guy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Loves golf, stocks. We walked around the casino. So Huey's, I believe it was his grandfather. Did you tell me? His grandfather played, I think his grandfather played drums in a big band, a swing band.
Oh, okay.
Back in the day. And they actually played at Hampton Beach Casino.
Oh.
And Huey and I walked around inside, and he was telling me like where the stage used to be, and all these great stories. And, just a really nice guy.
Yeah,
and he gave me a big shout out up on stage. And,
oh, that's cool.
And I thought that was pretty cool. I was like, all right, because I grew up, I was born in '82, and Back to the Future, and all of those songs, the album Sports and all that, like, and then like, whoa, Huey Lewis, he was such a big name in the '80s.
Oh, yeah.
And Back to the Future, that whole soundtrack.
Yeah.
And fantastic. I mean, they sound just like the album when they're live.
Really, I've never seen them live. I have some good friends who are big fans who have seen them live, but
yeah, he doesn't play anymore.
I know, it's terrible what happened to him. That Meniere's disease, I think it's called. I remember seeing an interview where he was talking about it. It was when they came out with that last EP, Weather.
Yes,
it was a few years ago.
Yep. Yep.
And he was talking about how they're playing a show, and just all of a sudden his hearing, like, he either just couldn't hear, or everything sounded strange.
Yeah.
Or,
so it's hard to like sing in tune.
Yeah. And I think, too, he said it comes and goes. So he'll have moments where his hearing is somewhat normal, but it doesn't last. So he's pretty much done. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, it's terrible. Do you ever worry about that? Do you ever worry about something happening to your hearing? I mean, I'm sure you have some hearing loss, because part of being a musician is, you're in front of loud amps, and, I mean, I haven't gotten my hearing tested because I'm literally afraid to.
Same here. I think I would be afraid. I don't have any issues yet, knock on wood. I haven't had any type of ringing in the ear. I try to do the best I can when I'm on stage performing. Usually those large shows there, either I'll have in-ear monitors in, or, the monitor mix is a pretty healthy, mix. But once you start getting, the horn section up there and, everything else. And I remember, I'll never forget this. This was that same show with BB King at the casino, and I'm up there and we're doing our sound check, and BB's Hammond organ player had two Leslies. And I remember my keyboard player, Jeff, he's up there and he goes to hit the first note. We were doing something, and I could feel the air and the sound on my back.
Oh, wow.
And I was like, oh my gosh, my ears. And that was the one time I think in my life where I was like, oh geez, better be careful here.
Yeah. I'm pretty well. I don't play anymore, but I notice like I have tinnitus, but I only really notice it when I first wake up in the morning, so it doesn't bother me yet. But I don't listen to headphones anymore except when I'm doing the show.
Yeah.
But like I miss putting on headphones and listening to loud music, but I'm actually afraid to now because I don't want it to get any worse.
Yeah. I tried to use the in-ear monitors when we were on tour with Three Dog Night. We used them, and but I always found myself pulling out an ear.
Really?
Yeah, because I love that natural,
vibe,
the feel. because it's too isolated in the mix, and I
Right.
feel like I'm not there.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Now, when you go, so on this tour with George Thorogood, you're going to be. Now, you said you're not bringing the band.
No. Maybe there'll be a date or something maybe added where I get to bring the guys. But
Yeah.
no. So this is myself and George Thorogood and the Destroyers, and yeah.
So what do you do? Do you just go out on stage by yourself, or
Yeah. So
Wow.
I'll go out and yeah. I've gotten to that. The last summer there, with 25,000 people there in front of me, I was like, yeah, okay, I got this now.
Yeah.
Yeah, it took a moment.
I was gonna say that must be scary at first, because when you're when you're up there with a band, it's like you can all kind of lean on each other, and it's like that.
It's like a security blanket.
Yeah, exactly. It's like we're all in this together, but
yeah, it's a little different when you're up there by yourself when you have all those eyes looking at you.
yeah,
You're like, just okay, everything. Let's not break a string. Let's sound good.
Yep.
And I try to make sure like I don't talk too much or whatever during the day beforehand leading up. I try to save as much energy, because when I go out there and perform like that, I try to give it everything that I have.
Yeah.
And I try to not leave anything, so I go out there and I do the absolute best that I can. And it usually shows, because it looks like I just came out of a swimming pool by the last song.
Really? Yeah.
Oh yeah. Then I'll go back in my dressing room, take a shower or whatever, and go back out and listen to the rest of the show. So
but the first time it must have been pretty scary walking out there by yourself, I would imagine, right?
yeah, for those size shows, I kind of I built myself up for like the smaller, like 2,000 like seat venues, but like you do those other ones that are 25,000 people, it's like an ocean.
Yeah.
I mean, this was in Chicago. We were in, where was it? Yeah, I think Chicago, Illinois is 25,000 people. Like Meadowbrook looks big, but you go to some of these venues that are out in the Midwest and stuff, it makes Meadowbrook look very small.
Oh yeah.
And they're all set up the same. They're just wider spread, more people.
Yeah.
And but it's really interesting though, going to all the different cities and towns, and you kind of like, every city and town is so different, like the people, like the audience. Like you could be playing in, so one of the dates on there is Lexington, Kentucky, and I've played there before.
Yeah.
And it's so much different than, say, you go a couple hours away and you're in Nashville or Knoxville or whatever.
Yeah.
Like the audience, the crowd reacts so differently. Some people, they'll just sit there and then they'll clap afterwards, or people are standing up cheering and during. So it's so different. So it's really neat to see.
Yeah. Well, when you're opening too, I would imagine there's probably some crowds, because we've all seen it happen where, if you're the opener and they don't know you, there's that, I would imagine sometimes there's that beginning thing where they're a little tentative.
Yeah.
But then, a couple songs in, they're like, okay, yeah.
This is cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then usually I try to go out like to the merch table or whatever, after I perform and sign a few things, or usually we have a guest list. People will come backstage.
Yeah.
And just kind of meet some people, and you get to see a lot of different things on the road. That's for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Does your approach to playing change at all, where you're with the full band versus when you're by yourself?
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. So I'll have my main guitars with me, like my Fender Stratocaster and my Martin acoustic with me and stuff like that. But yeah, the song choices are different. My style of playing is still the same, but obviously I have to put a little bit more into it.
Yeah.
But it opens it up a lot, so I can play a lot of my original stuff a little bit more different, not different, but more open sounding. And the key thing is really just keeping my voice in check, and being able to have that, because at the end of the day when I'm out there, it's my guitar and my vocals.
Yeah.
So
you ever have any trouble with your voice?
No, usually if I do quite a few nights in a row, like long nights, like a couple nights ago, I played for 3 hours straight.
Oh yeah.
And that probably wasn't the best thing. I noticed it, and I can notice it a little bit today. Like I'm
really,
a little bit raspy, and usually it's not. Usually it's fairly smooth.
Yeah.
So,
do you actually feel it, or
I can feel it. Yeah, right in here a little bit. But
Yeah.
I try to drink. I got like throat coat and
Yeah.
tea. I drink a lot of that before I go out and play.
Yeah.
And do vocal exercises, warming up. So
No, that's good because you know, a lot of vocalists don't take care of their throats, and then you
need to.
At a certain point, things start to kind of give out. Now, JFed is in the Facebook live chat. He's one of our friends from Vermont, and he asks, and this will sound like a strange question, but I'll explain afterward why he's asking this. He says, "Do you think you will do an ice bath with George?"
An ice bath with George.
Now, the reason he's asking that is he's a very JFed is a very big proponent of the ice bath. For health reasons.
I'm familiar with it. So I did a show. I played with the drummer for Bruce Springsteen, Max Weinberg.
Yeah.
And Max does an ice bath for his arms after the show.
No kidding.
Yeah. So I'm familiar with the technique.
Does he just put his arms in it, or does he get into the bath?
No, just his arms.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, see, JFed, he gets into the ice bath.
Yeah, we don't have baths backstage. We have showers. We have showers.
Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe if I go back to my hotel and have my tour manager call him up and say, "Hey, can you
fill it with ice?"
Fill Brooks's bathtub with ice.
Yeah.
They might scratch their head, but
But in that case, though, you'd be doing it by yourself. Like you wouldn't invite George over, presumably.
No, probably
to get
not.
Into the, yeah.
Yeah. Maybe we might have a whiskey or something together beforehand, but we usually keep the bathing to ourselves.
Right.
Yeah.
And Texas Mike joins us in the chat room and says, Brooks, were you the one to portray Garth Brooks at the Palace Theater during the pandemic?
Yes, that was me.
Oh, no. So what is it? I don't know about this. What is this?
Yeah. So, excuse me. Over at the Palace Theater, we did a show during the pandemic. It was called Brooks Plays Brooks.
Okay.
And it was a Garth Brooks tribute show during the pandemic that we did. And I put a band together and,
I'll be damned.
And, it was this idea that I had. And I was like, oh, this would be neat. And during COVID, you couldn't really go out anywhere. So it was all videotaped and, the whole big production, the video wall, the lights, the smoke, the whole 9 yards.
Yeah.
And some of it's on YouTube, I think.
No kidding.
Yeah, if you do Brooks Plays Brooks, I think it's. I think it's on there. Yeah.
I didn't know about this. Oh,
yeah.
That's cool.
Yep. So yes, that was me.
And with a full band or just you?
Full. Yeah, everything.
And it's just all Garth Brooks songs.
All Garth Brooks.
Oh wow, I'll be damned.
Yep.
Yeah, Texas Mike says Garth Brooks is his favorite artist. So.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun.
Wow.
That was a one and done deal.
Did you happen? I'm not a big country guy, but did you happen to do Hard Luck Woman?
No, I don't believe so.
I was just curious.
No.
The only reason, so I have an affinity for, Kiss is my favorite band, and of course Garth covered that.
Yep.
And on the cover that Garth recorded, Kiss is actually on the track with him. So, and they even, I don't know if you've ever seen it. There's a YouTube video of them performing it together.
Oh, I'll have to look that. I did not know that.
Yeah, they performed it together. This was 1994. They actually performed it together on the Tonight Show.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's pretty.
I'll look that up.
It's pretty cool. Well, we should let's play another track. I played Ventilator earlier, but we should give this other one a listen. Dream Away.
Yeah, that's off the latest album, Supply Chain Blues.
Yeah. So we'll play this, and then we can talk some more. Anything you want us to know about this? Did you also record this at Mojo?
Yeah. This is from Mojo, and it was a great. So this song I wrote actually way back when I lived in Manchester a long time ago. I wrote and recorded on one of my first EPs, and I was asked to re-record the song and make it a little bit more bluesy and put it on this actual album that went out. And this album itself actually went to the top of the charts for a while. It even passed Buddy Guy for a week.
Wow, no kidding.
And I was like, okay, this is good. This is cool.
Yeah.
And but yeah, this song Dream Away, it did very well, and very proud of it.
Cool. All right, check this out. This is Dream Away from Brooks Young.
Every day I dream away that I find a girl to fall in love with me. It seems just like yesterday that I first saw your face. You made my heart skip a beat and flutter on inside of me. Every night I dreamed of you. morning I wish I would wake by you. You make me feel so complete. So why don't you say you'll stay with me? I wanna touch your lips, or feel you with my fingertips, watch your body rise when I kiss you goodnight. Every day I dream away that I'd find a girl to fall in love with me.
Brooks Young is here. He is at the news desk.
Hello, hello.
Hello. Wonderful to have you here, sir. And yeah, if you're just joining us, we've been talking music, and Brooks has an upcoming tour with George Thorogood, and we've been playing a couple of the studio tracks. Really great stuff. So, Brooks, how many albums have you recorded? You must have quite a few at this point, right?
Oh, geez, that's a great question. I want to say five albums.
Five,
maybe?
yeah.
Yeah, five. A live album, a couple studio albums, a couple EPs, and the goal is by the end of the year to go back and do a follow up on the latest album.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Excellent. Are you going to do you think you're going to keep making full length albums? Because we live in an era where you've got a lot of different options in terms of how you approach it.
Yeah, and that's interesting you say that, because I have been thinking about that. And everything nowadays, it's all about throwing out the single, put the single out there. But there's something about the continuity, having the whole album work with each other, the tracks, kind of melt together. And I like that. I like going into the studio and having that mindset of, I'm going to make this cohesive project.
Yeah.
Rather than just go in and record a single, which I've done many, many times, which is also fun.
Yeah.
But there's just something about walking out and knowing you have a whole album.
Right.
I can go in there and make a whole album and then maybe put 2 songs as singles out first and just kind of test the waters a bit.
Right.
Which I did with this album. So yeah, I whole album, definitely whole album.
Do you like being in the studio?
Love it.
Do you? Good.
If I could be anywhere all the time, it would probably be in the studio.
Oh, interesting. Okay. So you prefer that to being live, to performing live?
I look at them as 2 different things.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love the live aspect of the performing part of it, and being able to, that connection with the audience and the performer. Something about the studio that I love is the creative side of me. Mm-hmm. Like, I can be very creative. I can stop. I can, redo something. When I'm doing live, that's the moment.
Right.
Right. And something about going in the studio and just knowing that, the sky's the limit, endless, recording. And so I don't know, I enjoy it.
Now, have you worked with producers, or do you produce yourself, or?
Usually, I produce a lot of the things with, the gentleman who's at the studio, Anthony, and I do a lot of the producing. I had on this album, a good friend of mine, Charlie Cantrell. He was the executive producer on the last album. And so, yeah, usually there's a couple of us involved. Yeah.
I know a lot of times too, sometimes you might go into a studio and the engineer becomes almost a de facto producer if they're someone who has a lot of ideas and suggestions.
Yeah. Many hats.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, has your approach to recording changed over the years?
Yeah. Yeah. I know when to stop recording, and I know what to listen for. I know, where I'm at. I can go in the studio and say, okay, that was a great take.
Yeah.
Not do like 30 takes of, the same thing. Like I can go in there and I know exactly what I'm looking for. And, I've tried different ways where we go in and record like a scratch track with the band, and then we'll start from the drums ground up and, overdub and things like that.
Yeah.
The Supply Chain Blues album was recorded a little bit differently.
Supply Chain Blues, that's a great name.
Yeah, I thought so, right? And so, that album there was full band. We all kind of recorded together the drums and the bass and keys, and very little overdubbing.
Really?
Like all the guitar that you hear is me actually playing it while I recorded it. I
Okay.
didn't overdub anything.
Really? Okay.
The only thing I did was the vocals.
Okay.
Yeah.
And when you said now you know when to stop instead of 30 takes, so when you used to do a lot more takes, is it perfectionism or were you just never
that and just searching for, well, could it be something else? Is this the riff or could there be a better riff?
Yeah.
And so now I kind of go in there into the studio prepared, and we always went in prepared.
Yeah.
We could knock a whole album out, usually within a weekend, the band, no joke. Like
really? Yeah.
We do a lot of rehearsing prior.
Yeah.
And we go in knowing exactly what we want to do. So we don't go in there blind,
Yeah.
because we don't want to waste anyone's time at the studio.
Right.
And we don't want to waste our time.
Right.
And
right.
we go in there with a mission and we do it, and in and out. And
Excellent.
we stay focused.
Yeah. And now in your live show, obviously, you have a lot of originals, but I assume, do you also do some covers?
We do a few covers.
Yeah.
We actually, so we're doing like a fun little, like a club pub kind of show coming up next Friday in Concord at Panucci's.
Oh, okay.
And we actually put a cover in. We're doing Dirty Laundry by Don Henley. And
oh, that's so weird. Brooks, I was thinking.
And there's a reason for it.
I was thinking about that song today.
Were you?
Yeah, that's so weird. These weird coincidences happen to me. I was thinking about that song specifically because of something completely unrelated to music. I was thinking about Prigozhin in Russia. His plane went down yesterday.
Yeah.
And I was thinking about that song, that line from Dirty Laundry. It's interesting when people die.
Yes. Yeah, that's
I
line.
was thinking about that today. That just popped in because I relate everything to music. So, of course, that's just so weird. Anyway, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to derail you. That's just so weird, though. Of all the songs, you mentioned that one.
I've always wanted to do it. And, our keyboard player, Jeff, just got a refurbished, almost mint new 1937 Hammond B3 with Leslie.
Nice.
And I kept hearing it in my head, and I was like, "Oh my gosh, we have this now! Like,
we
can do it like that." And
that's so cool.
I love it. I don't know. So we do a few covers, a lot of originals.
Yeah,
we do a good mix, and a show like this, it'll be kind of like a 60-40 mix or so. But
gotcha. Very nice. And what's do you know what's happening after the George Thorogood tour? Do you know what your next step is, or
I'm hoping a new
album that's going to be next on the agenda?
Yep, I think from what I hear, there's going to be some more show dates added on while I'm on tour with some other projects and things, and probably maybe a few more George shows added on. We just added, I believe, another show just last week onto the tour.
Oh, excellent.
Yep. So we keep adding on while we're there. So yeah.
By the way, have you ever broken a string while you're doing the solo thing in front of a big crowd?
You just jinxed me. I never have.
You never have, really?
Never once.
That's awesome. How do you avoid it? Do you change? Because I've known guitar players who will literally every show they'll change all the strings just to make sure.
So I I'm very particular about my guitars, and I go through them with a fine tooth comb.
Yeah.
Everything beforehand. And,
Yeah.
So, and I just, take, good care of my things. I use quality stuff and do the best. But sometimes, stuff happens.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, it hasn't happened yet.
Good.
So,
Good.
Yeah.
Well,
I'll think of you when it happens. I'll be calling you.
I don't blame you. I don't blame you. Very good. Very good. And are you going to do any? Do you have any plans to do anything sort of out like the Brooks? What did you call it? Brooks.
Oh, the Brooks Plays Brooks.
Brooks Plays.
That was a one-time moment. If you were there,
Yeah.
you witnessed it for the one time in history.
Yeah.
I don't know. There's a lot of work. It was a lot of work, to be somebody else and
Yeah, no doubt.
and learn all those songs, the whole group, and there was a lot of rehearsing, so it's a big production.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And what about collaborations? Because you talked earlier about collaborating with, what's her name, Ruth?
Yeah, Ruth Clapton. Yeah.
Because again, going back to in terms of having different options for how you create music or how you release music with all this technology.
It's so, yeah.
I mean, you can collaborate with anybody anywhere in the world.
Yeah.
Emailing tracks back and forth, and it's quite remarkable.
Yep. So yeah, that would be great. And, you never know what will happen, especially with this tour.
Yeah.
What collaboration might come up to be on the next album.
Because it seems like, so you've had this great opportunity to play with so many of your heroes, but it must be, I would imagine you've probably thought about you wanting to record with some of these people.
So, my main, everyone has a dream.
Yeah.
And, right now I'm very fortunate. I've been able to set myself up to be able to do what I'm about to do. And, it just was hard work, dedication, and sticking with it, and
Yeah.
it's a lifestyle and it's a type of job that most people don't understand.
Right.
Because, it's not your ordinary thing.
Right.
So it's hard for some people to grasp.
Yeah.
But my biggest dream would be to record and do something with Eric Clapton.
With Clapton.
Dad.
Yeah.
And so, I definitely see that in the future.
Yeah.
And that's kind of my big ticket. That's my bucket list.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
No doubt. Yeah, I always say, because you were talking about your collaboration with his daughter, something about with the pandemic,
Yeah.
terrible thing, but we have to find these silver linings where we can. And one thing that I always found was a silver lining is we're kind of lucky in a way that it happened when it did. Because if it had happened 20 years earlier, or even 10 years earlier, where we didn't really have, 10 years earlier, we've had the technology, but people weren't necessarily as comfortable with it, but it happens in 2020 and, musicians are doing incredible things, not just collaborating, getting used to the idea of collaborating online with emailing tracks back and forth and things like that. But actually doing live performances online with other musicians in other places. We saw some bands doing that who hadn't even played together actively in a really long time, doing reunions online and playing some of their classic songs.
That's right. We did.
So that was pretty amazing. And so we're lucky that it happened. And when it did, in terms of timing, I think if it had happened when I was growing up, that would have been awful before
who knows what.
Jeez, So fortunate that way. Now is the song you did with Ruth, is that available online?
Yeah. It's on Spotify, Apple Music, everywhere. It's called Promises.
Promises. Okay.
Yep,
I'll check that out.
One of her dad's songs. And
Yeah.
it's funny because it's her favorite song that her dad does.
Oh, really?
And it's
Yeah.
my favorite song.
Yeah.
And so I said, "You think he'll be okay with it?" And she's like, "Well, let me ask him." And I'm like, "Oh, geez, no pressure,
Right.
And she's like, "No, he's fine with it. He's fine with it." And we recorded it, and she laid down her vocal parts over there, and it was just a great time, and being able to do that, and her and I would video back and forth and talk about the song and this and that. And there's a little clip, if you follow on my Facebook, there's a little clip of her talking about it.
Oh, no kidding.
Together. Yeah.
Oh, very cool.
Yep.
Very cool. So when does before we run out of time, I want to make sure people know. So when does the tour start?
The tour starts October 20th, I believe. You can go to brooksyoung.com, and there's a tour poster there with George and I on it. And it has the dates. What's the first date on there, Matt?
So October 21st in Greensburg, Pennsylvania. At
Excellent.
The Palace Theater.
Yes.
Well, the Palace. I feel like that's such a common name, the Palace Theater.
Yeah, try when you have to tag it on social media.
Yep.
That you're doing it. How many different Palace theaters pop up?
No doubt, no doubt. Where's the first place you played? Do you remember the first place you ever played live?
Franklin Opera House.
No kidding.
Yep.
That's not a bad start, actually.
Yep.
That's a decent sized place.
Yeah. When I lived in Manchester.
I thought you were going to say somewhere in Concord, like maybe Panucci's.
No. I didn't even play Panucci's until just a few years back, I think.
Really?
Before the pandemic. Yeah, I did a show there with Boyd Tinsley, the violin player for Dave Matthews Band.
Yes.
Yeah, so him and I became good friends, and he brought me out to a bunch of Dave shows, and him and I did some tours together before the pandemic, and we actually did a show at Panucci's.
Oh, no kidding.
And
wow.
Yep. So that was fun. So yeah.
But Franklin Opera House was the first show.
I believe so. I did a couple small things. Like when I was younger, in my early 20s, I lived here in Manchester, and I used to go to all the different blues open jams, and that's kind of how I got my feet wet of playing with other people.
Yeah.
And then while I was doing that, that's when I met B.B. King at Singer Park.
Gotcha.
And then that's where it all started.
Do you recommend that? Because one other thing I did want to ask you is, like a kid who's maybe just starting out and they're really they really want to learn to play blues rock and so forth. Is that something they should do?
Oh, totally.
Go to blues jams and just try to play with different people on different days and
definitely, for sure. I recommend that more than sitting at home playing along to a YouTube video.
Really? Yeah.
Yeah, get out there and play with other people. That if you want to perform live, it's going to be your best practice.
Yeah. Interesting. Okay. Did you take lessons or are you self-taught?
My grandfather taught me a bit when I was younger, and then I kind of took it from there on my own.
Okay. Gotcha.
I did a lot of, when I was growing up, a lot of sitting, listening to B.B. King and Eric Clapton. And luckily, I played trumpet for a long time, and I know how to read music and stuff like that. So I was able to apply my knowledge of that and, carry it over to the guitar.
Oh, okay. So you started on trumpet.
Yeah.
Oh, interesting.
Yep.
Do you still play it?
I do. I was actually, a fun little fact that many people don't know is I was awarded by the Marines the Semper Fidelis solo artist for playing trumpet.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah.
I'll be damned. Oh, that's cool. You ever play it live?
Very rarely. Not now.
Probably not.
No.
You get your hands full with the guitar.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, it makes sense.
At home, play some Miles Davis. Or,
no kidding.
Little tunes. Yeah.
Oh, that's cool. Very cool. Very cool.
When your spine is cracking and your hands they shake,